progress as far as the town costs. For subscriber costs, each proposal has different numbers for different services, and should I just report out on what these proposals are?
If you don't mind.
We put together, if I may borrow this, a grid, and this would be available through Mary in the office. And this is it's got 3 columns for the 3 proposals.
I just forgot to bring it.
And lays out what the different costs are. Basically, the costs involved are, there's an initiation or activation or installation fee for all of them. It's $100 proposed for Wired West. It's the Fiber Connect is proposing $250, and the Matrix is proposing $500 as the kind of startup fee to get you installed. For people who wait until after the construction is done and then go back and request service, there are higher fees because it's more efficient to do it while the trucks are here and going from pole to pole.
Are these the company's recommendations? And do they get this money or the town gets this money? The town is contracting, right?
They get
They
it.
get it.
The companies get the money.
Yeah.
There's different ways this is going to work out, okay? Some of them are providing it one way and others are another way.
Well, I don't know what that means, but
Some of them are depending on MBI to do the upfront work, which is the pole licensing and all that. And Fiber Connect is basically going to bury it all, so they don't have that problem unless they run into rock.
are we contracting with these companies to build this?
This is what we're discussing.
And
Egremont.
operate.
Yes,
We are.
Egremont would be signing a contract with one of the companies to build the infrastructure, yes.
Okay, so how then does this company that we're contracting with to build it get the money? How come it doesn't go to the town, a business?
Because there are 2 parts to the contract. One is to build the network, the second part is to operate the network. As the operators of the network, they get the revenues. In some cases, this is part of the town financial analysis, they return a portion of the revenues to the town, but we're not in the business of operating a broadband network. We do not have the resources to do customer service and the billing and all of that. So the money goes to these companies.
Jeff?
Yeah.
It might be helpful if myself and Adam did like a 1-minute, this is the overview of our proposals so that it might answer some of the questions. Yeah. Would that be helpful? That might work.
Excellent. Yeah.
Because I think they're kind of...
Who are they?
My name is Chris Lynch. I'm from Matrix Design Group. Just to give you an overview, we designed and built EC Fiber up in Vermont. That's a cooperative of 24 towns. We've built out 6 towns so far up there. We also did the initial engineering for Wired West. We just did the fiber design for the town of Alford. We also just finished the build and the final design for the town of Leverett. Our proposal to the town is the town handles what's called the make-ready work, a place to house the electronics and the police details during the make-ready work. And Matrix Design Group would use their own capital, their own funds, and their own expertise to design, build, and operate a network for the town of Egremont. So it would be our capital and our money doing it. So that's why the $500 would be paid to us. But that $500 would actually be put in an escrow account by the town until we actually started construction. So that's a little bit overview of what we plan to do, or what we're proposing to do.
Can we let Adam make his comments first?
I'm Adam Shade. I'm with Fiber Connect. We are a venture back. We are an upstart, specifically on the heels of the MBI middle mile build to do last mile construction. We have been doing businesses and private properties for the past 2 years. We've got 24 plus some odd laterals or extensions to the existing fiber that we've built. We're a local company. We're venture backed. We're actually venture backed by a local resident. And our area of expertise, the fellow who's backing us did the original national fiber construction back in the late 80s and 90s. So we have a long history as individuals in the company of doing this stuff. But in fact, and I know there's been some comment about the newness of our company, but again, this was specifically built for doing these constructions. We are the ones looking to do primarily underground service. That's not to say that we won't get on the poles and that we won't do our ground assessment to figure out where we need to go on the poles, but we are looking to do primarily underground. We're expecting 12-month turnaround from when we start to dig, when we complete the network, when we would start lighting people up as we go. So we expect services to start as soon as 3 months in. That's sort of the short and sweet of it.
Could I ask a question, Phil?
I think the lady up front here had a question.
I just wanted to clarify, so the initial fee per household would be the $100, $200, and $500, which individuals would pay, the town would hold until everything got going, or until, okay.
And if I could just clarify that as well. We built the town of Leverett, and they basically have a similar fee, but they're charging the taxpayers $300 per year on average on their tax bill. Because we'd be funding it, there'd be no tax impact. So you'd have a $500 one-time fee, and that'd be it. And we would also be lighting up customers as we build, so we expect to be lighting up customers probably 10 months in the start of the build.
So you're putting up the money
Yeah.
for the build?
Not the tax bond. We're putting up the money.
Well, my question was partially answered. Will this be a creeping light up, or will it demand that the whole network be in before you light up individuals?
With both of our plans, we'd be lighting up people as we build out the network.
Because both of us, in both our proposals, we're building and essentially owning the network. We don't have to wait for a test and a turnover and all of that, so we would absolutely start.
And it's in both of our best interests to get the revenue coming in and get the customers online.
You have to understand that as private companies, we have skin in the game, right? I mean, we're offering financial equity stake in this build, so it's in our best interest to build it right, build it cheap, and build it fast.
And just to clarify with Wired West, to answer your question, when the town of Leverett was built, because it was done under contract, one construction company doing the contract, a separate company doing the services, pretty much the entire town had to be built out before customers can be lit up. The same is true with the MBI and Wired West plans. The entire network has to be built before subscribers can be added on.
There's a validation process that has to happen when turning over to the network.
So may I just finish this up? So that's the upfront cost. Each one of the proposals has certain parameters for the connection from the pole or from underground to your house, and that connection is free unless your situation is more complicated than the normal. And the parameters are different for each one of the vendors, so they have to do with how many feet do they have to go. So it's for Wired West, it's the first 300 feet, I think. No, sorry, 750 feet are free. For Matrix, it's 300 feet. So, and then the question is it an aerial connection from a pole to your building, or is it an underground? All of these things have the potential for adding cost for the homeowner. If you have to bury your own conduit for the cable to come in that way, that would be a cost. So that's going to depend on your specific situation of how your property is set up. What else? All of these proposals bring the fiber optic broadband to your house, and there's a piece of equipment that's included with the installation that is what it's called, the optical network terminal. That took me a long time to get, because all these guys talk about ONT, and I thought it was my mother's sister, but no. It's optical network terminal. That's included, and it's possible for the that terminal to then service your house from where it is in the house. But if you have a big house and you need to have the terminal at a different location, you have to pay for the inside wiring, hire your own person potentially to do that. There needs to be an electrical plug near where that comes in to power the equipment. If you don't have that, you need an electrician. So there are these little details that you may have to deal with.
But most houses already have some sort of internet where they have a point at which their house, the line ends and the house starts.
That may be true. So I'm just saying, if you're an exception to what you just said, there may be extra costs. Then, what are the ongoing monthly costs once you have the installation? I think everybody has seen what the Wired West proposal has been, which was $49 a month for basic 25 megabit internet service, $79 a month for 100 megabit service, and $109 a month for 1,000 megabit or 1 gigabit service. The Fiber Connect is $95 a month, and that's I'm still a little confused about what the service level is for that.
It's 1 gig best use.
I didn't
1
understand.
gig best use. So if anyone has DSL right now, it's 1 meg or 3 meg best use. You may not always get that, but there's the potential to get that.
Oh, so best use. I didn't understand best use.
It's not a guarantee that you will get 1 gig every single time you use the internet.
Okay.
It depends on overall traffic and all that, but if you make it available, and the majority of the time you'll see well over several hundred meg.
Okay. The Matrix proposal is also $95 a month for 50 megabit service. Each of these companies also offers at a
Jeff, can I just clarify that just to make sure people kind of understand? Our service is up to 50 megabits, but there's really two components. It's what you actually get at your house and what's going out from the town to the internet. Our proposal is, or our plan to build includes 2 gigabits to the internet. So if we're saying you can get 50 megabits, the chances are you're always going to get up to 50 megabits. If in the town of Leverett, they're sharing 1 gigabit among 800 homes right now. So in theory, they have up to a gigabit if you're the only person online. But if there's everybody online, you're not getting close to that number. We're trying to give you a more realistic number.
All three also offer internet telephone service, and for those, the Wired West is $25 a month for basic service and $49 for expanded service. I'm not sure exactly what the extra is for the expanded service, so that's still to be figured out. Fiber Connect is $19.95 per line, and Matrix is $20, 5 cents more per line for the telephone service. And these internet phone services, if you've ever lived in a place that has real broadband and had this before, there are a lot of features that you get with internet phone that are just simply not possible with conventional Verizon type of landline service. So there are a lot of features in all of these plans. Television. For the Wired West proposal, they are proposing to have internet delivered television. Basically means you can get rid of your dish or DirecTV or whatever you use for your TV. Those costs that they were planning would be $25 for a basic package and $49 for an enhanced package, but we do not know what programming was included in either of those things, so it's not.
Except that it won't include ESPN.
He did say that.
Yeah, it's, Steve Nelson was very
Clear about that.
Yeah.
The other two proposals are not offering TV service per se, but they have provided information about how you can get access to video services through your internet. This may satisfy your needs for television programming, or it may not. There are a lot of different services that are out there on the internet. This is a sort of developing area of the technology, so that right now it may be limited, but as time goes on there may be more things. And both proposals have suggested things that subscribers can do to get this internet programming, but it's pretty much you roll your own for this and pick the things you want. You subscribe to them totally independent of the internet service. So I would say basically that those are the differences in the subscriber costs for these three different proposals.
I have one question for Fiber Connect. You say that gigabyte service, you may not get a gigabyte, but at worst, what would you get?
You know, it's hard to say. We have in our model, we've budgeted backhaul for 3 gig. We don't expect to actually need that much. We have an oversell ratio that we like to.
But you're selling 3 gig for the town.
To feed the town.
Right. So if you're
Potentially,
selling
we
a
don't-
gig,
we
yeah,
don't
but
wanna
you're
go-
selling a gig to 100 people, and they're online all at once.
If everyone tries to stream the Super Bowl at once, you may
Yeah.
see 50 meg, 100 meg service. Really is going to depend on the utilization.
But if it wasn't the
of
Super
network.
Bowl and it was a normal night, do you think they'd get 200?
Oh, probably.
Okay.
In excess of.
So this is, we've heard, you've named the costs, and now what I don't understand, I'm sorry, is that, so that's all the money you need? I mean, who's gonna pay the money to set up everything? Is that what you do, or do we have to raise the money or get it from MBI, the millions of dollars to lay all the
That's, I think you're gonna
foundation?
go over that next.
Oh, okay.
You're not done with that, right?
You
Right,
haven't done the
that's-
cost to
that's
the town.
in the works. So just a little sidebar. Like most other people, early on in the game, I thought the vote at the town meeting was for Wired West. But I got clued in before the actual vote. So I realized that we weren't just voting on Wired West, but I totally get that people may have had that impression, because certainly I did for quite a bit of time leading up to the meeting. But looking back, aren't we fortunate that it wasn't Wired West that we were voting for, but that we were voting for a more generic bond authorization, so that we now are in the very happy position that we have authorization to borrow money if we need to for any one of these other plans. Now, how much will we need to borrow? That we're not done trying to figure that out yet. It does depend partly on the different proposals and who's putting how much money into it. It also depends on what can we get from state grants through MBI for these other plans. So basically we don't have a good answer today in actual numbers of how much the town will have to spend. But the good news is we have the ability to deal with it up to the bond authorization was almost $3 million. So we have the ability to fund whatever we may need to fund in order to make this happen.
Yeah, Egremont has is in a very favorable, I won't say fortunate because it's not just luck, favorable financial position. We have a bond rating, and a pretty good one. That's a AA+, I believe. And we have unutilized tax capacity.
How much you paying?
I don't know. That's we haven't gotten even close to that yet. I don't think of this primarily as a financial decision. I think of this primarily as, if we want broadband service, how do we get high quality, sustainable, prompt service? Now, it's, if other people may feel differently, all of these numbers about cost per subscriber are in fact predictions. They are, now in the case particularly of Matrix, I think that's it's a little more than a prediction. It's a promise, and it's contractual. And Adam, I think you guys are still working on your contract, but it's
that's basically where we're at, and when we get the final contract,
it'll be written down. But in 10 years, who knows what it's going to cost? It's going to cost more. That's but the I think that it's going to be reasonable for the people of Egremont. Would it be reasonable for the people of a very poor city, North Athens? I don't know. That's I have no idea what they're doing. Marge.
This is one reason we have many people on this committee. I think costs do count. As a friend of mine said this morning, so after all this, we may get it, and I can't afford it. So there are people in Egremont who will not be able to, who will want it, but not be able to afford it.
Yeah, but I don't know that we can help that.
We have to go independently, I admit, but we can. We can try.
But do the people have any say into what will be chosen, or is that totally up to the select board? I mean, for example, if one system does want $500 for a setup fee and the minimum price is $100 a month, that might make some people vote against that as opposed to something that has a lower setup fee and a lower monthly cost. Is that something the select board will try to figure out what's fair to the town? Or is that...
Yeah, that's the responsibility of
and,
the select
okay, and is there a certain commitment needed by these companies of a certain percentage or a certain number of towns?
Yes.
That would have to figure into.
Does the town know that I have Usenet and Dish right now? Or does another house have Use?
No, town doesn't know.
Okay, because that might be a good thing to know, because that'll tell you what people are spending for internet.
Mm-hmm.
People that use Use are gonna lap up the, this. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure a lot of people in Egremont have Use.
Probably.
Yeah.
So to me, that makes sense. But every information collecting exercise that you add to this committee's to-do list is gonna.
Yeah, but I think if you put it on NeighborNet, you're gonna get some numbers.
Put it on NeighborNet.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. And it's I don't promise that what we'll do with that information, but it's we haven't planned to go out and collect a lot of information from.
Yeah, but that's going to tell you what the town is spending right now for internet.
I think we're at a point. We're at a point now.
I think he was going to say something.
We've got a guarantee from the state as to what we're going to see for money. We've got a bond limit as to what we can borrow to. And our whole focus right now is trying to find the best company to come in here and give us the most cost-effective build-out in order to bring broadband to Egremont. I've been working on this for 12 years now, and frankly, I'm a little bit tired of it. It's going to cost me a few bucks. I spend right now about a little over $300 a month between what little bit of broadband I get, I call it mini band, because I don't do the satellite, because I've got a couple of trees that I'm not going to cut down to bring the satellite onto my property. And I've also got dish network, and I've also got telephone. Because my wife happens to be severely hard of hearing, and she needs to have the Captel. And you can't get Captel with broadband. So I spend, a little bit over $300 a month. I'm not a rich person, but I will guarantee you, if I've got to pay $500 to get something hooked up, to get broadband to my house, I will.
I've had used since I'm here for 5 years. I just got Dish 2 weeks ago, which is better and faster. But that being said, how can we make a decision of what the company is going to charge if we don't even know what people in Egremont are paying? So we're giving all this business to these companies, correct? They're going to collect the monthly fee. Mm-hmm. So we don't know how much they're going to collect. They may have an idea, but we don't have an idea, and we're going to sign a contract with them.
That's going to be...
I think that's a disconnect.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
If you folks want to get the information, bring it, but
that's
not the charge.
That's
not the charge of this committee.
Okay.
We were appointed to help the select board.
Okay.
If you don't think we should, if you think we should do it in a way that we're not doing it, then you need to get more involved with the committee. That's we'll listen to you.
So if you make a recommendation and you don't like it, you should get involved.
And these meetings have been public. They have not been secret.
That's fine. I'm not saying.
If I can add, as far as I think what Jeff did today was as far as going through the financials, as far as what the plans are. There's a whole other set of financials as far as how the different companies would handle building the network, how much the town would be responsible, how much the town would be at risk, versus how much the individual companies would be at risk. And I think that's more in line with what your question is.
That's going to be the next meeting.
And that would be the next meeting.
But we're not presenting these companies with a great gift of favoring them with our business. This is a small town, and it's not, well, it's a relatively prosperous town. There's not oodles of money here. That's why they're
not getting involved because of charity. They're getting involved to make money. So they're going to make as much money as they can, and they
actually, sir, don't know the individual motivations of each of the entities that we're reviewing. If you care to inform yourself, go ahead. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
But you don't know what their motives are.
Okay.
And if Verizon and other companies were beating down the doors, we'd all have broadband. We wouldn't have this committee.
Okay.
Right?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I hear that you're saying, but I don't believe. I
didn't make any assertion about motivation. I just questioned.
Making money is a good first assumption.
They're making money. They're in business to make money.
Okay, folks, I got a question.
I think one of the things that we haven't covered is with each of these proposals, there is a minimum subscription rate, I believe, before the company will build in the town. Is that correct?
Minimum number of subscribers?
Minimum number of
minimum
subscribers.
Subscription rate, yes. Is that correct?
We've never stated that.
So if you end up getting 300 people to subscribe, and that's all, you'll continue the build and build out everywhere?
We're taking that risk. We're making an assumption that we're going to, of what our take rate expectations are. So we've never stated a minimum that we will not build or we would back out of the build if we didn't get. We're not even requiring free subscription.
Okay.
If I could just summarize what I see as the different take rate for the three different companies. With Wired West, what their requirement was, you had to have 40% of the town signed up before that they would build in that town, or they would ask MBI to build in the town. We asked for a number. It's roughly 50%. I think it's 470. I apologize. Sometimes I get some towns confused. But the difference is, we're building. Once we get that number, we're building out the entire town. We're going to pass fiber by every single house. So it's up to that customer if they want fiber or not, or broadband or not. With Adam's proposal, they're going to be investing $500,000, and the town will be investing the rest. So if there's no subscribers, even though he has no subscriber minimum, if there's no subscribers,